Hi, everyone on the line. Thanks for joining today. I'm Shauna Cox, Head of Growth and Operations at Shuup. Today, we are speaking with Ian Phyper, who is the founder of Farmers2Market, as well as another marketplace called GrogTrot. And he's partnered with Shuup on both of these marketplaces. Ian, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and talking about some of your marketplaces? I think we're going to specifically focus on Farmers2Market, but would love to hear a little bit about the concept behind GrogTrot too.
Sure thing. Good morning to everybody. My name is Ian Phyper, and I'm the founder of Farmers2Market, and I'm actually a co-founder of GrogTrot. My brother and I are doing this venture, so I got to make sure I get his name in there, otherwise he'll be upset at me. So a little bit about myself. I'm actually an entrepreneur at heart. But I have worked in the food and beverage industry for probably about 20 or so years in general management roles. And I've also worked with the farming industry. And so for the last few years, I've been developing the parent company, which was Essential Organics. And that was doing hydroponic container farms for markets that don't have good access to naturally grown produce. So it's container farming. And so in the course of doing that company, I decided that I needed to create a marketing platform for the farmers that for the containers that we were deploying throughout Canada and the US. And so that's when I originally came up with Farmers2Market. However, once COVID hit, then that kind of changed things, and the shutdowns changed things even more. And so the container farms basically went for nosedive, and all of our contracts dried up. And so we're kind of scrambling, and we had to try and figure out what the best course of action is, and that's why we sped up the development of Farmers2Market. And so it's basically just connecting farmers to their communities and communities to their farmers as a way to bypass the badly damaged distribution and processing problems that are existing in the food chain, and allow farmers to actually connect to the members of their community who may not know what that farmer does. So it just brings a little bit more of a community spirit, I guess you could say, between the farmers and everybody else.
Wow, that's so interesting. What a great idea. So the customers can essentially purchase directly from the farmers.
That's correct. Yeah.
Awesome.
And the main thing with that is that, you know, I know a lot of farmers out there, they have websites and they have their own stores and so forth, but, you know, farmers are in the business of farming, and they're not necessarily in the business of marketing and promotions and that sort of thing. So Farmers2Market just kind of gives them a little bit of a breathing room so that we take care of the marketing and the promotions of their farm on our system, so they can do what they do best, which is farm.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I think, you know, especially since farmers sometimes, you know, they're selling different types of things. And as a consumer, you might want, you know, different products from different farms. Having them all under one platform makes a lot of sense. It's easier as a consumer, and it's probably a lot more traffic as a farmer vendor.
That's correct. Yeah.
Great. So, you know, as you were building out this concept and researching and planning your business, how are you thinking about it? How are you thinking about the marketing piece and how you wanted to go about it? You know, what sort of research did you do?
Well, the research is, you know, I actually come from a farming background in my family. You know, my father had a cattle ranch, and other members of my family, past and present, are actually still in the farming business. So I was able to tap into that market a little bit, and and talked to some farmers. I did some surveys in the farming community to see what the process is for getting products to market for them outside of the typical send it to the processing plant and so forth. And the funny thing is, and I can totally relate to this, is back when I lived in Alberta, I would get a side of beef from a farmer, except the process that I had to go through to get that side of beef was because I was friends with somebody who was friends with somebody who was friends with somebody who was acquainted to a sister of a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only way that you could get this side of beef.
Mm-hmm.
And on a recent trip to Alberta to visit family, that same scenario popped up, and that was something that the members that were at this gathering that they were continuing to tell me. And so that was part of the market research. And then it was just observances through what was happening with the whole lockdowns. My local grocery store, when they have to ration meat to 1 package of meat per person per day, is a clear demonstration that there's something seriously wrong in the system, and the distribution and the processing plants are in serious trouble. And then when you flip over to the other side of the farmers, like, they've got the product, there's no problem with what they've got. But once they get it to the processing plant or to the distribution center, because of the shutdowns and the scaling back, the product is going to waste.
Yeah.
And I hear so many horror stories of milk being thrown out because they just don't have the necessary staff to process everything properly. Sides of beef and pork and chicken and what have you. It's just going to waste. And then on the third part of it, as we experienced this past summer, the farmers couldn't find workers. And so everything was rotting out in the fields. And they would say, well, come and pick your own. We won't even charge you for it. Just please come and take the crops. And people still didn't want to do it because of the fear. And I think that was the main driving force for the development of this is, unfortunately, it's fear. And so we want to try and quell those fears a little bit and give people a means to do a contactless process or payment or shopping experience. And you can either go and pick it up, or they'll ship it to you, or mail it to you, or if it's mailable. So that whole process went through our minds, and over the summer, that's how we developed it. And it took us a couple extra months. We wanted to do it over the summer, but things just didn't work out properly. And so now that we've deployed it, this is how we are marketing it to the community.
That's great. And, I would assume also with the pandemic, I'm not sure how it was in Canada, but I know in the US, a lot of farmers markets shut down, at least initially. And so folks that were, happily shopping at farmers markets instead of even grocery stores, wouldn't have that connection to the farmer community anymore. So, to me, like Farmers2Market really sounds like an online farmers market, which is so cool. So, I'd love to kind of like talk about, as you were looking to build this marketplace, how you thought about selecting a third-party vendor versus potentially building it yourself, and what you sort of did to compare different marketplace providers.
Well, when we first started looking at this, my partner, he actually referred me to a website in the US that kind of does something similar to this, except that they design a website for the farmer. And then that, they list a product sort of thing. And so originally I thought, well, maybe I'll just get in touch with these guys and see if they'll do a white label resell of their system, and then I can just deploy it in Canada. And then I started looking around because for me to do it myself, it's never going to happen because we wouldn't be talking right now. it just, I'm not that type of person. I cannot build these things myself. So I get the professionals to do it for me. So then I started looking around to see what type of companies were available for doing this sort of venture. And I talked to a friend of mine and who had done a website for me before, but his concept of how to develop this was completely different from mine. So, but he did give me some good ideas as to types of companies I should look for. And so there was 3 companies originally. 2 of the other companies were in Eastern Canada and 1 in the Eastern US. And then there was Shuup on the other end. And so the problem I found with the other 2 companies was it wasn't the price of development, but it was the price that I would have had to charge my customers. And, farmers, it's an expensive business to run. A farm is extremely expensive to manage and run. And there's so many highs and lows in any season. And so their platforms would have meant I would have had to charge my farmers a minimum of $250 a month as a subscription fee.
Oh,
and
wow.
I just didn't feel that as being something that I wanted my customers to have. And so the Shuup platform allowed me to create a system that was very cost effective for the farmers without giving away the whole system as a whole. And as I started to work with Shuup, it was just the team that was helping me, the attention to detail, things that I wouldn't think of, they would think of. And so we're able to troubleshoot each other. We were able to critical think each other, and we're able to develop the product in a very short period of time. And at the end of it, it works out that, I'm not charging my farmers a subscription, which is contradictory to every other group out there. I mean, I do have competitors and they do charge a subscription, and I don't have to because of the format developed with Shuup. And so those were the deciding factors with Shuup, and I've been happy ever since. And because of that relationship, I went to my brother and said, this is what we're doing with Farmers2Market. We can do it with GrogTrot. And he liked what he saw, and so now we're just in the final stages of GrogTrot being released to us as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I'd love to get it more into the building and launching of the marketplace and what that experience was like. But, since you brought up GrogTrot, if you could just give us an overview of what that business does, just so everyone understands, because it's a pretty cool concept.
Sure. So GrogTrot is actually still in development. We're just going through the final stages with it. We're hoping that Daniel and his team can release it to us next week. But it is a collaboration between my brother and I. He actually developed it 5 years ago after a trip to Japan. And he saw the idea of the whole concept in Japan, and he brought it forward 5 years ago, and we started working with a developer, but technology just wasn't quite advanced enough in North America at that time, and so we kind of had to shelve it. And then due to COVID and the lockdowns and restrictions placed on the hospitality and food and beverage industry, we recreated the whole idea. So the idea is based around locational-based QR codes in a contactless ordering, payment, and delivery platform to those locational QR codes. So to give an example of how it would work, if you are, say, at a resort in Mexico and you're sitting on the beach, you want some margaritas, but you don't feel like walking all the way back to the bar and there doesn't seem to be any service on the beach, you would just simply scan the QR code that's located on your beach lounger, and it brings up all the menus for the resort. You choose the menu that appeals to you the most, and then you scan through the menu, choose what you want. You pay for it, you add a tip into it, and then the product that you ordered is delivered directly to your beach lounger. So it's a great little tool for places that have multiple restaurants or food vendors in their facility. It uses what we like to call umbrella marketing. So it's the parent company that has multiple services under their umbrella, and they want to increase the deliverables of service throughout their facility.
It's so interesting. It's such a great concept, I think, especially, given the pandemic and that restaurants and bars and other places are trying to reduce the number of contacts and overall make experiences more safe for both customers and their staff. I mean, this seems like it'd be a great way to do that.
And that's pretty much it. It's we've seen, I'm sure you've been to the restaurants of late, and in some states and some provinces of Canada, the lockdowns are still in effect, and we're getting into winter, and so there's a lot of fear, and people are not willing to go to the restaurants to dine in. And as a result, we're losing staff, we're losing servers, and the businesses are losing valuable revenues. So this kind of just addresses that and enables the business to still maintain good social distancing or physical distancing. It allows a contactless system, and the only interaction you have with the staff really is the delivery of food.
Yeah.
And just the seating at the table. So, there's no menus to have to print up, or there's no extra burden cost for the restaurants to print anything really, except for our QR codes, which are either printed on just regular paper, or we are actually going to provide a laser engraving service so we can do it on metal objects that you can affix to tables or to whatever. So it really helps the business that is losing a lot of money with a high overhead to kind of get their overhead back in control and try and at least maintain some level of profitability, and hopefully survive until this whole thing becomes more of a, I don't know,
a distant memory, hopefully.
A distant memory, I guess. Yeah.
Great. Well, it sounds like such an amazing and very timely concept. I'd love to also talk to you about how you went about choosing a marketplace vendor. What was the criteria you used to find a multi-vendor marketplace vendor, and how did you go about that search, and why did you ultimately choose Shuup?
So originally, with the Farmers2Market idea, so because my company was in the business of hydroponic container farms, I decided that one of the important marketing aspects of the business was to create a marketing management system, or a retail system for our farmers so they could sell into their own communities. And the present system that from the manufacturer, the containers just didn't offer something that was really geared towards their farmers. So I was originally looking at building the platform, and it just kind of evolved because of the whole COVID thing, and seeing that the destruction and the great reductions in our food supply chain. So it evolved more and more and more. I enlisted the help of a friend who had helped me design a couple of other web platforms, but he was off on some other tangent, and what he was saying just didn't match what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started looking into the market. I came across one group in Seattle who was doing something similar to what I wanted to do, except they were actually creating websites for farmers, which was not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to create an actual market for farmers. Um, and so I thought, well, maybe I'll just get in touch with them, see if they'd be willing to white label what they do, and then I can just do it in Canada and make things go from there, as seen as they were only in the US. But then as I started looking into their program and I started to do more searches of groups that could actually build something for me. There's no way that I would build something myself. I don't have the expertise to do so. So that's why I hire the professionals to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at 3 different companies, which included Shuup. And 2 of the other companies, although they could deliver similar to what Shuup could deliver, the problem was that, and the price was similar as well. The problem was that their licensing fees would have meant that I would have had to charge my farmers quite a steep monthly subscription rate of anywhere from $150 to $250 per month.
Wow.
And there's just no way I could justify charging farmers that amount of money, given the challenges that they already have and the gross amounts of money that they have to pay to farm their land or their livestock or what have you. So I kind of veered away from those 2 groups, and that's why I went with Shuup, because not only is it a great team of engineers that were able to help me develop the program, but they could look at it and we could all troubleshoot what I was trying to bring forward together. And the end result meant that I didn't need to charge a monthly subscription. I could have a platform that was extremely cost effective for my clientele. And I was still able to formulate putting in a good revenue stream for us. And we're able to develop it on the premise that, we don't make money until a farmer makes a sale.
Mm-hmm.
And from a marketing standpoint, that seemed to make the most sense to us. Why should I charge farmers for something that hopefully will happen for them? And I'd rather see it happen for them and then we get rewarded as a result. So that was the primary reason I went with Shuup, was because they understood how to develop it and how to bring it to a point where that could be my marketing platform.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I can imagine, vendors, and in your case, the farmers would just see that as way too expensive of a cost proposition to join a platform if they have to pay, a large monthly subscription fee.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love also, it's really clear why you chose Shuup, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about what the process was like around building and launching your marketplace.
From the beginning, Tom was awesome. He helped me understand what it was that Shuup did. So it was a very detailed process of going through what my expectations were and what they were able to deliver. Then involved a meeting with the lead program manager. In this case, his name is Daniel. And the meeting between Daniel and myself was very detailed. I mean, he took extremely, a lot of great notes to ensure that what he came back at me with in terms of what they could do matched what I was looking for.
Mm.
And if there were problems that, that I couldn't foresee or, that just didn't seem reasonable, then he brought those things forward. He was upfront and honest with me about the cost. I had a very limited budget. The COVID lockdowns killed my original business, so I had to manage my budget very well, and he was able to design something with the help of his engineers to, to build something that was within my budget, but would still be effective in the marketplace. So the whole process, through the Slack and through the QA environment allowed me to have a good understanding the entire way as to what was working, what was not working, and to communicate with the members of the team to, little glitches that I would find or they would find, or, the whole process was just excellent from the beginning to the end.
That's so good to hear. I'd also love to hear just how you approached bringing vendors on. I think a lot of people who are thinking about creating a multi-vendor marketplace, it's not clear to them how they bring on vendors, how they onboard them, and how they think about sort of like marketing to them, because these are ultimately two-sided marketplaces.
Well, the bringing on the vendors part, especially when you're going for something that is a national scale like what we're doing, I mean, it is a lot of work. There's a huge difference. I believe earlier you said, we're kind of like an online farmers market.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do an online farmers market, it's very localized. So, you can go after the farmers within your immediate area and try and encourage them to become part of your network. But when you're going on a national scale, like what we are in Canada and the US, it's definitely a lot more intense as to how you're going to gain markets or gain vendors. So what we have been doing is I do campaigns on Facebook, and I specifically target the farmers and the agricultural industry. We do research through just identifying farmers and doing a short email invitation to farmers to get them to take a look at us, and we can give them a demo of how the system works. And we've tried to make it as easy for the farmers to want to join our network as much as possible. One of the great things about the back end of the program was having that QA environment, which allowed me to fully understand what it takes to onboard one of our vendors. And so now I can very easily, offer a demo. We go in, I show them exactly what the process is to register their business. There is a setup fee, so they pay the setup fee. Once everything is approved, then I work with them to input all their products, including pictures and weight categories and pricing and inventory. And so it makes it a lot easier to be able to, because of the simplicity of the program for the vendor,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it a lot easier, and it gives them more confidence that, I'm not very computer literate, or maybe I am, but for those that are not, it's an easy access into the back end of the system for them, and they can easily maintain their inventory, update it, see the analytics of what is selling, what is not. So it's a very easy idea for them to get involved with what we're doing.
Wow, that sounds great. Sounds like it's pretty easy for the vendors to join your platform once they know about it and get interested.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's easy. Hopefully they do.
Great. Well, for everybody listening to this, either now or after the fact, I'm sure, they have their own ideas spinning around in their mind about what kind of marketplaces they might want to create. Do you have any advice for anyone who's thinking about creating a multi-vendor marketplace with Shuup?
I think the biggest thing that you can do is not to disparage on your own ideas. Every day and every event that happens in this world creates new ideas and new ventures. And I think that if you have an idea that you believe can work in the marketplace, talk it over with the Shuup representatives, and they will be able to help guide you as to whether your idea is marketable according to what is available in terms of software and programs and online representation. The guys have a wealth of experience in various marketplaces, and I think that's what helped them to be able to give me the confidence to build Farmers2Market and now GrogTrot as well. And I would just, so many people don't develop their ideas out of a fear of whether the idea is developable, and you just got to go for it. And if they come back and say, you know what, I just don't know if this is going to work, I don't know if we can build it, or whether it's something that's doable, then at least you gave it a shot. And maybe it's just like with us with GrogTrot, you have to wait a couple of years for the technology to advance, and then you try again. So I'm for myself, I never give up, and what may not have worked a couple of years ago can work now. And I've just kept that mentality throughout my life. So yeah, that's all I can say is just, if you have an idea, bring it forward, talk to the people that can help make it happen, and if it can happen, then go for it.
Awesome. I think that's great advice, especially since Shuup, for some clients, will build less expensive, sort of minimum viable products, and then they can kind of add to it over time as their budgets allow. So it's a fast and easy way to sort of get the business up and running. And then, if you want to expand functionality, Shuup's always here for them to expand the functionality.
That's actually a great point that you made too, is that with GrogTrot, and even with Farmers2Market, the first version that we've come out with is a great version that we can release to the marketplace. And so as we build our clientele and our vendor list, and we start bringing in the revenues, then we can go back to the engineers and say, okay, let's upgrade into version number 2, and let's introduce these things into it, and just keep going. And it's an evolving process that is determined by your success. So it's a great something to kind of bank for and build upon.
Yeah. So I'd love to see your marketplaces if you're open to showing.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Let me know if you could share your screen. I will stop sharing mine.
Okay, so right now this is the GrogTrot backend. So right now I'm just updating a grocery store sample grocery store that we can use for demo purposes. But I'm able to add in products. Come on. So these are all the products from the grocery store that we're adding in. We're able to, it's running a little slow here. The name of it, the descriptions, the categories that it goes into, the prices. For us, because we're doing delivery to QR codes, that's an option for us, so that when the order comes in, you can choose whether it's delivery to your QR code or if you're going to pick it up. We got the images of the item. We've got stock management features. So you set the price of what the item is and how much quantity of it you have, and then the alert limit tells you when you're down to, say, 25 units left. It sends you an alert that you need to reorder that item. What else is there? There's the shipping aspect, so shipping methods that you can use. We have this for both platforms. So in GrogTrot, the difference is that there's the delivery to the QR code. But for both GrogTrot and Farmers2Market, we also have a delivery aspect. So if it's a localized service, then and the farmer or the restaurant has a delivery service, then they can deliver direct to you. There's the pickup, which is usually curbside pickup these days, or there's an eat-in option for GrogTrot if you're in the restaurant, and then Farmers2Market, The other option is shipping. So if it's an item that can be shipped through the postal service or a courier service, then that is another option that you have. We've integrated a chat system into ours so that when you actually into both. So if you need to, you have to alter your order a little bit. Maybe you don't like onions on your burger. There's an opportunity for you to start a chat window with the vendor, and the two of you can go back and forth and discuss things. It's a great opportunity for the vendor themselves to communicate with you as the customer, because if there's alcohol involved, they can say, okay, please present your ID when the order is delivered in order to facilitate the order. If you cannot provide ID, we will not deliver the order to you, and you can either substitute or what have you. Same thing with the farmers to market. So it allows the farmer to communicate with the consumer, and maybe what you ordered is the quality of it doesn't look too good. So you can say, you know what, quality is not great. It's not something I'm proud of to give to you. We can exchange it with this. So the chat bubble is actually a really great little tool. It's about as close as we can get to actually talking to the farmer or talking to the server in a restaurant. So how it looks for, say you scan one of the codes and you, for a hotel or something like that, you'll bring up all of the vendors that are available in that area. If you happen to not have a QR code, you can access this. This is the Canadian side. You can access this page, and it'll show you all of the vendors that are within your geographical area that deliver to that area. So right now it's a broad spectrum. I've got it for basically worldwide. But as we get into our demos, then we're going to narrow it down to a certain area. But so that's what it's like on the GrogTrot side. You can choose the vendor that you like. On Farmers to Market, it brings up this screen here, and it will bring up all of the farmers that are within your geographical area. So right now, because we only launched a couple of weeks ago, we don't have any vendors signed on as of yet, but we are building towards it. It's not the farming season right now, so it's a little bit slower to get vendors to come online. But when we do have vendors that are on here, they'll actually be populated the same way they are on the GrogTrot side of things. And then you choose your vendor, choose the products, go through the order, process it, pay for it, and choose your method of delivery.
Very cool. Both of these look, like they're pretty easy from an administration perspective, and look pretty easy from a customer perspective too.
And that's just it. So this is the back end of what the actual vendor has access to. So it's very easy. This is an order that came in. This is not a real order, of course, but it gives a good detail of who the customer is, what the order is. The credit card is already on hold, so it will never actually display what the credit card number is. And you have to go through the process of completing the order. And once the order is completed, that means that it's been delivered to the customer. Then it actually processes the credit card payment, and that credit card payment is given to the vendor within 24 hours. So it's a great quick turnaround time for the vendors. They can have coupons. We don't have any put in right now, but you can create coupons for it, product discounts, and then the actual analytics. So it will actually, this is the opening page when you log in. So it will actually give you all the details of your sales, how many customers, new customers, returning customers, over periods of time. So it's just a great little tool that the vendors can use to identify how well the program is doing for them, as opposed to other programs that they have, either Skip the Dishes or DoorDash or things like that.
Very cool. Awesome. I would love to open it up to anyone listening today to ask any questions that they might have. So just go ahead and put that into the Q&A widget if you have a question. Okay, looks like we have one question from Simon. He wants to know whether the inventory management is done through Shuup or done through another way.
The inventory management is done strictly through Shuup.
Okay.
So the program here is all done through the backend, or the program that Shuup designed for us. We don't have another system that we use. We rely on this system 100%.
Got it. Okay. Well, great. I think that was the only question. So Ian, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and share your experience working with Shuup and share how your marketplace has turned out. Really exciting to hear how you were able to build out the concept and bring vendors on board and market to customers. If anyone has any additional questions or would like a consultation on how to launch their own Shuup marketplace or even flesh out a marketplace idea, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of our Shuup representatives today. You can email contact@shuup.com. Ian, I just want to plug your businesses one more time. So it's grogtrot.com and farmers2market.ca and farmers2market.com.
That is correct.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.